check. We ready? I hope we're ready. Hey, good morning, folks. This is Bob Peters. I'm here with the estimable, the personable, the rather presentable Dick Wolff. He says he's televising this particular show, and he wanted me to spit on my hand and slip my hair back. And God, I look handsome. We are in fine shape. We have lots of things have been happening. Well, I went to the county commission meeting to see about the withdrawal of the resolution that became a hot potato in hereabouts, and the Tennessean the other day had this column right in a prominent spot in the Nashville Tennessean. It said this: commissioners in Franklin County have a resolution to oppose same-sex marriage on their meeting agenda next week, although leaders say the proposition will be withdrawn, and it was withdrawn. So, folks, for the first time, officially, since the resolution was withdrawn, we have same-sex marriage here in Franklin County. And in fact, Dick and I are going to a same-sex wedding in Oak Grove.
I wish you hadn't denied me, Bob. You and I could get married.
Well, no. Because we'd have to buy a memory foam mattress. Hey, no, it is crazy. You know, I went to a same-sex wedding out in Oak Grove, and I had a problem because I didn't know which side to sit. I didn't know which was the bride's side and which was the groom's side. And I didn't find out until the preacher said, "You may kiss the bride." But it turns out that same-sex marriage is legal in Franklin County because the resolution didn't pass. There were several folks there, I don't know if Dick met them, that were upset over the fact that the resolution was withdrawn. The resolution, of course, was drawn up by some nitwits in Greene County. Why we would pay any attention to what goes on in Greene County, I'll never know. But they sent it verbatim. Very well-drafted resolution with very few misspellings. And they sent it here to this county and persuaded at least a couple commissioners to actually propose it in front of the legislative committee, where it was passed unanimously, but was withdrawn after a reflection, and probably as a result of the publicity that was engendered. In fact, had they not proposed to withdraw the resolution, both Channel 4 and Channel 5 were going to show them with TV cameras, and it would have been a spectacle, because the resolution was essentially nonsensical, because it's really not really established law that the Franklin County Commission could overrule the United States Supreme Court, although they could try.
There was one thing that did happen at the conclusion of the meeting when county commissioners were permitted or asked if they wanted to make a comment. Commissioner Gene Sneed asked if the commission could vote on that even though it was withdrawn, because I believe he wanted all of the commissioners to be able to express their sentiment.
So you can't vote on a resolution. What happened to that?
Well, Mr. Chairman Eddie Clark, the chairman and one of the co-sponsors, by the way, of the proposed same-sex marriage ban, told Gene Sneed that he would have to begin the process anew, write another resolution, presumably different from this one, and then put it back through the system. Let it go through the various channels in the county commission committees and subcommittees, and then come up to the floor again.
Because he essentially told him he can't vote on a resolution that has been withdrawn.
That's, yeah.
But I think that the county commission would have shown a great degree of intelligence by voting on a resolution that is withdrawn. It would be a vote in favor of a withdrawn resolution, which would have made it even doubly ineffective.
Let me tell the people, Bob, what we're doing here in terms of this video streaming that's going on. I can tell them you can see this on Twitter, and our address on Twitter is at the FC Buzz. That's our Twitter address. Also, you'll find this linked on our Facebook page, the Franklin County Buzz. There's a 15-second delay between the time that we do this and the time it shows up on the video stream. But if you do want to call in at 967-7471 or 7472, I would encourage you to please turn your radio off, because you will be very confused, as if you weren't enough confused by what Bob's saying.
I usually, in making any comments, I usually have a 15-second delay of my own. Hey,
so that makes it 30 in total.
If anybody wants to call in about this withdrawn resolution, I assume that, hey, by the way, did young Sneed, a fine fellow, by the way, who obviously had an opinion he wanted to express, because I occasionally drink coffee with him over at Carol's Corner, and I find him to be a most presentable young man, although I have not inquired as to his attitude towards same-sex marriage. Based on what my good friend Dick Wolff states, he probably isn't going to accompany me to the wedding this week.
I don't think he'll be there.
Well, anyway, that's what we're up to. I noticed that several other things are going on. I love to get this Sunday paper because they have one thing in that paper that I find intriguing. There are the police reports. There's several police reports that were reported in Tullahoma, and I love the first one. A Tullahoma woman was arrested after she attacked her boyfriend with a Christmas tree. Apparently, they had a disagreement, and the young man fell over the Christmas tree, and or she fell over the Christmas tree, and then attacked him with the tree. And both were charged with domestic violence.
Was it a decorated tree, Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
She did it with the angel. But apparently there was no Baby Jesus. By the way, I went and bought a bunch of Baby Jesus stamps. They have two kinds of stamps, a snowflake that are for sale at the post office, and some Baby Jesus stamps. I am very fond of Baby Jesus. I like the depiction of Jesus as a baby just the same way I love the depiction on the stamp of the young Elvis as opposed to the older Elvis. I think it's important. There's another unusual theft. 4 individuals entered PetSmart, located on North Jackson Street in Tullahoma, in camouflage garb, thinking they wouldn't be observed, but they were stopped. Their vehicle was stopped, and they found that they had purloined several items, including some items that I was not aware of. That included a package of Armstrong superworms that was found in the middle of their console. But here's one other thing they found: a reptile gel treat that was found in the back. Now, I do not precisely know what a reptile gel treat is. I know about doggy treats and kitty treats, but I didn't know about reptile gel treats. And they found the reptile gel treats in the trunk along with a reptile bowl. I think reptiles probably need that specifically. But now there was another theft that caused some discomfiture to the thief. He shoplifted and stuck down his drawers a cooked chicken. you get one of those rotisserie chickens.
That's pretty hot.
And they caught him while he was hopping in front of the store. Well, anyway, I wanted to read that. The big commotion on the TV, on talk radio, is Donald Trump's proposition to not allow Muslims into this country because they're combining against us. And I have to give credit for young Donald Trump. There has been a concerted effort to try to establish the fact that these two miscreants devoted to Muhammad, in fact, did this unawares to everybody else in that area, in their family, which defies belief. And I suspect at least 30 or 40 people probably knew it without any doubt. And it was sanctioned. For members of the family say they had no idea is beyond me, especially when they go to a rifle range with automatic weapons and are perfecting their aim. I think that if a woman in a burqa went to a firing range on numerous occasions, I would suspect that there was something going to happen. It reminds me of what happened in a case I had years ago. Years ago, I was involved in defending a fella in a bank robbery case in Chattanooga. And the bank robbery was performed with such artistry that no one would have found it out, except the robbers, like the Muslims in San Bernardino, right?
Bernardino.
And I love Bernardino.
It's a good Catholic name.
I've been to San Bernardino. They hung out at a place called the Cotton Club. It's not there anymore. It was in Chattanooga. And they sat around a round table. In fact, I went in the Cotton Club to reconnoiter. And I observed that table, sat at it. Well, they would sit at that table planning this robbery that was planned in a way that there was really no effective identification or any clues. But folks that they knew that would come in or sat down at the table, whether invited or not, and they participated in one degree or another in the conversations that led up to the planning of the robbery. And I, in my estimate, after reading the FBI file, I figured that at least 30 people were apprised in one way or another of this bank robbery. So the police, after the robbery of the bank took place, just simply rounded up the usual suspects. And one fella told him, and I happen to know this by seeing the affidavit that was in the investigative file, he said that he happened to be at the Cotton Club one evening and sat down at the table, and these fellas were talking about robbing a bank. and he said, who are they? And he told them. They then raided the establishment. They were living in a house in Rossville, and they had a little bit of a shootout. One of them committed suicide, but they caught him. And it's the same way with the Muslims. I suspect that any number of people participated in one way or another. And unlike the erstwhile bank robbers, there has been no effective act on the part of law enforcement to make them reveal that which should be revealed. The simple fact is, and this is why Trump has touched the nerve, there is no doubt that a goodly number of Muslims owe a greater allegiance to Muhammad than they do to the United States of America. And that's just simple fact, and it can't be ignored. I do not know precisely how he would ever implement his program, nor does anybody ever think he will implement it. But he sure got a standing ovation in North Carolina. And if you think his ideas are crazy, listen to talk radio, and you will hear his supporters come up with even more outlandish ideas. I have one fella seriously proposed that if to ascertain whether or not a person was a Muslim, each as they entered into the country, you would have a plate of pork chops.
A dead giveaway.
And you'd have to eat a pork chop to be allowed admission into the country. This was proposed seriously. I personally like pork chops. You go to JD's restaurant when they have pork chops; those are good pork chops. I wouldn't have any problem. They'd probably let me in the country.
We did have a comment on our television, on our live feed, Bob, and they were congratulatory on the Sprite placement. Your can shows up right in the middle of this picture very nicely.
Well, I hope.
So.
That is a product placement. They talk about product placements. Every so often I run into something that I do not know. You have watched sporting events, you folks have, on many occasions, and there are military tributes that have become very common in sports. And what you don't know is these military tributes are not freely given by the billionaires that run these sports teams, but as a result of the Department of Defense spending at least $53 million of taxpayer money to at least 50 teams to have these military-themed events. Just after the marathon bombing in Boston, the Department of Defense paid the New England Patriots $700,000 of taxpayer money to stage military-themed events. The Red Sox were paid $100,000. The Celtics and Bruins took in $195,000 and $280,000 respectively. The Wisconsin Army National Guard paid the Milwaukee Brewers $49,000 to play God Bless America at games in 2014.
What do you think we could get to sing a little patriotic ditty, Bob?
It appears that, for example, in Atlanta, the Department of Defense paid the Atlanta Falcons $879,000 of taxpayer money since 2012 for the privilege. The TV shots of veterans and outfield-sized American flags look great. The announcers talk about honoring service. But it's fraudulent. It's bogus. They're not doing it for patriotic reasons.
No, they're doing it for money.
They're doing it. They're getting paid. Now, I did not know this. For example, this is just absolutely loony. The Atlanta Falcons held a surprise homecoming during a game. The fans, homecoming for veterans, the fans cheered, but the reunion wasn't voluntary. The Department of Defense paid the Falcons $879,000 of taxpayer money for the privilege. The TV shots of veterans and outsized American flags look great. The announcers talk about honoring service.
There's no honor in that.
Hey, I listen, I did not know that. I didn't know that those patriotic displays were bogus and were fraudulent.
And a cost to taxpayers.
And when they asked the United States Army to do it, they say that the cost of promoting the events, what it charges the military, and it encourages teams to take steps to avoid any. They have to be encouraged to avoid any appearance that they are being paid by the United States taxpayers for such ceremonies. If these sports teams were truly patriotic, they would do this without charging the taxpayers of America big bucks.
We just had a comment from one of the viewers, Bob, that says, what is more patriotic than capitalism?
Maybe not. Maybe not. But as long as the price of gas is as low as it is, but my boy Trump, here's another thing that I did not know. Listen, this is the byline that later showed up in a long paper, but why don't local newspapers ferret this out instead of relying on the New York Times? Byline in the New York Times from Knoxville, Tennessee. And here's what it says. Before his 35-mile commute through the hills to classes here at the University of Tennessee. Michael Michelli eats a gigantic breakfast. It is his way of getting through the day without spending money on a campus lunch. Food deprivation is merely one trick he uses to minimize his college debt, which is now creeping past $32,000. So, guess what happens? He receives a $300 bill from the university this semester for food in addition to his tuition. For the first time this year, listen to this, the University of Tennessee imposed a $300 per semester dining fee on Mr. Michelli and about 12,000 other undergraduates, including commuters who did not purchase other meal plans. The extra money will help finance a $177 million student union. Now, Tennessee's contract is with its dining vendor, Aramark.
Oh, yeah.
It is just one example, and Aramark pays them a percentage. This is an abomination. To compel students to spend $300 to eat food they don't want to eat, to finance
student union building,
an independent contractor, Aramark, for the purpose of building a student union is an abomination. But I did not know that was going on. I think it's terrible. I think it deserves oversight, and it is probably worse than what happened just recently at the University of Tennessee. Someone at the University of Tennessee, they never identify him, but high up in the administration, stated that you could lose your job if employees insure. Let me start over again. A Facebook post was put out by someone high in the university, encouraging the employees of the University of Tennessee to ensure that their holiday party was not a Christmas party in disguise. Listen, the Post gave specific instructions how to avoid endorsing a specific religion or culture during a holiday party. Of course, the holiday they're celebrating is Christmas. Hey, now why anybody in the university would do something that stupid falls right in the hands of these right-wing nitwits, such as our good Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey. And he demanded that the chancellor resign unless he repudiated what the Office for Diversity and Inclusion had done. Why in the world would someone in a university put on a Facebook post that the employees of the university should eliminate any religious references at their holiday parties is beyond belief and common sense. It falls right in the hands of those that are now proposing to abolish the office of what is it called? It's called the I'll find an exact name. It is a post. I forgot. Oh, it's the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and the Ramsey, Lieutenant Governor, said that the entire staff of the Office for Diversity and Inclusion should be fired. Get rid of them all. Well, what it is, and if the chancellor approved it, he should resign. Obviously, the right-wingers just who are leading the opposition to what they call the war on Christmas should be chastised for the lack of intelligence in putting gasoline on the fire that is already raging. By the way, I got a Christmas card from Donald Trump. I kid you not.
You didn't donate money, did you?
No, I got a Christmas card. Know what it says?
I'm afraid. Can you say it on the radio?
Make Christmas great again. I'm not kidding you. It is fascinating. I also got a Christmas card from Jimmy Carter.
He's cancer-free, we're told.
And you know why he's cancer-free? Who is somewhat attributed?
Willie Nelson.
No.
Willie Nelson sat down with him, and the next week, Jimmy Carter's cancer-free.
But it's a result of a medicine that has been perfected, and the person that is the chief of the investigative team that is involved with this drug know who it is?
Your daughter?
My daughter.
Congratulations.
My daughter called me and she said, "That ought to go public." She said, "I am the investigator." She is a professor of medicine at Duke University at the Brain Trauma Center and is involved with new drugs to counteract the metastasizing of cancer. And that is one of the products of their research and development. And she said that she knew I was fond of Jimmy Carter, and I am proud of her. And she said, "Dad, you ought to make it public." So I'm making it public.
And we're streaming it. She'll be able to watch this on her Facebook page.
She might.
We need to tell her.
And she's not nearsighted. She can watch it. We have several other things. They have several bits of legislation that is going to be proposed in Tennessee. You may have remembered that in a couple months ago we talked about a law in the state of Georgia that now may become the law in the state of Tennessee, and it's called the Slowpoke Law. And he wants to pass a law that would make it illegal for anyone to drive in the passing lane of a highway unless that person is actually passing another vehicle. There are some exceptions. It has to be an interstate or highway like that. But what it effectively means is that you can be charged with violating the slowpoke law, even if you're hauling buns and moving on.
If you're in the right-hand lane, left-hand lane.
If you're in the left-hand lane, and the car in the right-hand lane is going 90 miles an hour, and you're going 90 miles an hour, and you're just keeping up with them, you violate the slowpoke law.
You know, oddly enough, west of the Mississippi, that's common.
Hey, what? The Mississippi is, we're not west of the Mississippi.
We're east
of the Mississippi.
Yeah, well, we're just learning some things that they already knew out there.
Well, I know. I've been west of the Mississippi.
Well, you've been to Texas.
That's on the other side of the Mississippi. But actually...
Do you pronounce all the S's in Mississippi, Bob?
No. I leave off 4 of them. The violators would face a Class C misdemeanor, the same citation associated with a speeding ticket. You could get 2 tickets. You could get a ticket for speeding and a ticket for violating the slowpoke law at the same time. Well, anyway...
I suppose you'd like to defend that.
Apparently... State Representative Dan Howell, who has a home in East Tennessee, in coming to Nashville, he was irritated with this. Of course, I violate the slowpoke law with some determination sometimes. If the car behind me is a vehicle, for example, an SUV driven by a woman with a Republican bumper sticker, is a car that doesn't deserve to be allowed to pass. Because of my position and status as a loyal Democrat who does not like female speeders in SUVs with Republican designations.
You have a Hillary Clinton bumper sticker on your car,
yes.
Bob.
So
that's a dead giveaway.
I know, but I don't drive. That's in my big Lincoln. But that's another bit of legislation. The other big problem we have is there was a council resolution that in Nashville to have a say in the Fair Board's controversial move to halt gun shows at the Metro-owned fairgrounds in Nashville. I happened to be drinking coffee in Pelham, and a man came by wanting to know how to get to the fairgrounds to the gun show, and I asked him, okay, and I introduced myself, and he said his name was Muhammad Abdul.
You gave him bad directions, right?
I looked in the car, and his wife was had a burqa. You know what the difference between a hijab and a burqa is?
I'm afraid to ask it. Can we say it on radio?
No.
Okay.
It's impossible. I heard a story the other day about that is perhaps